up. You know what I mean? Like it reverses everything. But he kind of got into it, and so he does deep water diving, free, unassisted, like without a tank. And he can go almost 2 minutes. And they trained him to do this in a pool. And you have to get past it, because after about 30 seconds, most of us think we're going to die. Actually, you're okay. You can go longer than that. But you're not comfortable. And again, after 2 minutes, you're not thinking about anything else. And after 3 minutes, yeah, we're probably unconscious. So here's something that's going on all the time in our lives. And we're 3 minutes away from being unconscious, and we don't even think about it. And it's just really good to start any reflection or any thought on where we are. Like, that's how real life is. And it's an amazing thing. What an astounding thing. It's happening all around this room. You want to put even a funnier spin on it? Okay, within biblical norms, lean over to the person next to you and sniff them. I'm serious. Have a smell. Sniff them. Okay. Apparently haven't done that in a while, yeah. Not only can you eat the air in this room to make you live, you can actually taste the quality of that air. One of the neat things, the first thing I did when I got in my room last night is I opened up those big doors and I walked out onto the porch and I breathed the air that was blowing in off the water. Like, you can actually taste the quality of that. That's how tactile our lives are. Again, we don't think about, like, you didn't think about air, you don't think about breathing, you don't even think about the quality of the air. But that's how we live. The taste of food. If the music ministry was here, I get them, like, any guitar players? Like, to strum a chord. You don't have to know anything about music, and you hear that, ring, it's a nice ring to it. Ring, let's try that. Ring. Okay, you have to imagine a little bit, but you get the idea. Take one finger and slide it off one fret. You don't get ring, you get like, it's disharmony. Discord. You can hear things. You can see beauty. You can experience life. This morning we're doing morning prayer. I was noticing just the stone, like, it's a pretty big fireplace. But it's a principle that I remember hearing about years ago about designing churches, that natural things always go together. Like, whenever you have stone and wood together, it always looks right. It's almost impossible to get that to clash. I'm sure somebody's managed to do it, but it's really, really hard. Colors can clash, materials can clash, but natural things all seem to sit together somehow. Now, all of this is to say the first principle of the kerygma, that life is good, and God is good, and creation is good. And I hope at least at some point you've looked over there and seen this and the beauty of it. And then what's happening now, just beginning to happen with the leaves are starting to turn. The last couple of years I've been doing vocation work, and I work at our farm, our novitiate, which is just about another half mile north of here. And we lived at the farm all through the year. And so this is what I would see every day. The leaves would turn, and then they would fall, and then the snows would come, and there's a certain beauty. Last night I was supposed to bring a sacramentary. It's a book that we need for Mass. So I went back up to the farm. And I got there, and I grabbed the book, and I came back out, and I noticed something, and I hadn't done it in a while. I shut all the lights off, and I went out into the yard, and I looked at the stars. Because where I'm, in the city now, I don't see them anymore. And I'd have to go out and feed the wood stove when I was working last winter, and I'd always stop and look at the stars. And the Milky Way it's just glowing. It was so beautiful last night. And the Big Dipper, and the Crooked W, and I found the North Star, and it's just to see that again. And I'm thinking, I have to go, but it's so beautiful. I wanted to see it. I've seen the Northern Lights there. You ever seen the Northern Lights? These sheets of color that come through the night. I remember I was there just a few years ago, and one of the other priests said, "Oh, the Northern Lights are out." And I've seen them on the horizon before, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of okay, whatever, Northern Lights." I've seen them before. And he looked at me and said, "Not like this." There were curtains of colored lights sweeping over the top of the farm. I've never seen anything like it. stunningly beautiful. This is good. And this is what we're created into. And this is what we're a part of. And I really believe it's what God wanted for us. Something happened this morning at breakfast. It was very subtle. Again, I was thinking about my talks, and you may not even noticed it, but remember when the staff was being introduced? And they showed the staff in the kitchen, people cooking. And there was a mom there with a little baby. And what happened? Oh, it's so cute. It is cute. A beautiful child. Do you remember what that was like? You know, that's what we're created into. And I think when you're born into life, it's like, sometimes I feel like it's our conscious life, we start a movie halfway through. Does that make sense? Like I was born, right? I just arrived. I didn't even know much about that. And then at a certain point, you sort of wake up and go, oh, hi. This is nice. I walk into the kitchen, there's food on the table. I walk into my room, and there's clothes in the closet. I go on vacation, and someone drives me. Like, it's a pretty good life, isn't it? And then you grow up, and it gets kind of complicated. But when I was little, it was really beautiful. Even stuff that goes a little bit south. I remember I did a talk one time years and years ago. My dad has passed on now, but when he was still alive, we did like a father-son thing. I was first ordained. And he got up and gave a story from our childhood. We were in PEI back on the beach, and we had a rule in our family that we could go into the water but not past our knees. We're only about this tall, so that wasn't very deep, right? And this is back in the 70s, and you didn't have to wear sunscreen, you didn't have to wear seat belts. It was great, right? You know, it was really good. Life was easier, simpler. I don't know if it was better, but it was simpler. So we were down the beach, my three brothers, two brothers, myself, three of us. I was the youngest, and we kind of get playing in the waves and go on our knees, and then there's a wave coming. If you jump just when the wave comes, then it wasn't really your knees. And we kept working our wave deeper and deeper into the water. So now we're out on the first sandbar. And my father comes down to the beach, and he sees his three sons out in the waves with the tide coming in, laughing and fooling around. And I might have been 4. I wasn't very old. And he's scared to death. He could have lost his boys. And in his fear, he rushes down to rescue us. Now, that's not how I remember it. I remember my dad being angry, a lot of yelling. I think I got a little paddle on the behind. I didn't get that many of those. But his perspective versus mine, right? You know, he was so scared that he almost lost his family. But we were so oblivious to what was going on. Now, when we're children, that's life. As we get older, there's a thing that has to happen. You see, if we're loved unconditionally, then we grow in that confidence and identity. And that becomes sort of a part of how we understand God. So we talk about God as the love of the Father, right? And that's what we're supposed to experience. I know it's not perfect. I know every family doesn't always go that way, and I'm sorry for that. But I do think that's the ideal. And the transition goes from this moment when we're children, and we have to come into adulthood, and that's really awkward. You see, our parents have to grant us adulthood, and we have to kind of earn it from them. That's why grandparents are way better, aren't they? They just love on you, and it's so much easier, it seems. But you see, that's got to happen so that we can learn how to love unconditionally others. Because we have to be the parents, and we have to give like that. And it doesn't always come with a manual or a switch or an app. It's complicated. And I think that's a lot of times when the problems arise. But never losing that sort of principle. I don't know if you ever heard that expression, like a childlike approach to life, or a childlike innocence, or a childlike joy. That's why we want to hang on to that. And those are good things, and they're virtuous things. The wonder of, kids finding, even like little ones, they find their hands. It's like, look at that, I have hands. Like, wow, that's amazing. I have feet, and they stick them in their mouth. I don't know how they do that, but they can. Like that's incredible. And food is, and light, and dogs, and all the things that children have to learn, and languages, and relationships, and all that kind of stuff. And almost trying to regain some of that. Because if that transition doesn't happen in a smooth, in a clear way, Then we have adults that are like still children. They still want for themselves. They're not able to give that way. We're going to talk more about that in a couple more talks, like just what the nature of that, or the fallenness of it, or the sinfulness of it. If we're still looking for something for myself, if I'm not able to love truly, and love, just defining it, is to choose the good for the other. To be able to step back and say, what do you need? What are you about? Where are you at? That's a loving thing to say. How do I get you to do what I want isn't so loving. Or that we work out a compromise. You get what you want, I get what I want. That's contractual, it's business, but it's not love. Something I noticed with, I worked at a L'Arche community. Have you ever heard of L'Arche? L'Arche it was founded by Jean Vanier, who may well be a saint. I don't know, he's probably on his way. When I was at World Youth Day in Toronto, I heard a talk from him, a movie of Mother Teresa, and John Paul II came to visit. So I had 3 saints in one day. It was pretty good. That was a good day for me. But Jean Vanier was talking, and I worked with L'Arche. And one of the things with L'Arche is when you work with the handicapped adults, I've always said they take beautiful pictures. Now, they're not beautiful people. You're never going to see them on a fashion magazine. But they take beautiful pictures. Why is that? Well, they have no sense of vanity. As soon as I see that camera, part of me, even I'm very subconscious, is going, so I'm trying to put my best side towards the camera because I really look a little thinner if I stand this way. It's awkward. Because I want that picture to be better than this is. And I don't even know what I look like. I don't even know what I look like. I see an inversion of myself in a mirror, and I make conclusions from that. At L'Arche, they just smiled. Somebody noticed me.